Good morning. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. I am Stephen C., and you are at Steve OC's on TikTok. It is not 11 a.m. Central Time. Generally, this live will appear at 11 a.m. Central Time every day to engage with the Course in Miracles, look at the lesson for the day, and then a corresponding text. But today we're a little bit early, as I will not be available for the live at 11 a.m. this morning. So it is now 8:15 a.m. We're getting 11 a.m. this morning. So it is now 8:15 a.m. We're getting started a little early. If you missed the live and you are still interested in the information, you can go to my YouTube channel, and I upload the lives over on the YouTube channel at Steve OC's. The link is in my bio. So thanks for being here. Good morning. Good to see you. And as I said, we will be looking at lesson 84 from the Course in Miracles. This is part of the review of lessons 60 to 80. The review happens for 10 days. And then we'll also look at a corresponding text. But I will begin by reading the introduction to the Course in Miracles. This is the introduction to the text, and some important ideas are contained in it. To the text, and some important ideas are contained in it. And it says this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum here in the Earth School. Only the time you take it is voluntary. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. And so we have constructed a veil. We have constructed some blocks to the awareness of the truth of ourselves, the awareness of the truth of our being. The Course calls those dark clouds that obscure the light. The opposite of love is fear, but what it's all encompassing can have no opposite. This Course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And so something of a prayer there to begin this live, which sets up the study of Course in Miracles. Thank you, Jessica, for the likes. Feel free, everybody, to like this live, share this live. And also, if you are interested in Course in Miracles, spiritual discussions, metaphysical subjects, studies, teachings, the esoteric and the occult, this is the channel for you. Follow along on this channel. Go subscribe to the channel. And as I said, if you miss the daily live, generally this live happens at 11 a.m. Central Time today. We're a little bit earlier, but if you missed the live, you can go to my YouTube channel. The link is in the bio. We're a little bit earlier, but if you missed the live, you can go to my YouTube channel. The link is in the bio. Steve OC's on YouTube. There are 83 previous lessons, discussions up on YouTube. So over 65 hours of material that you can browse through, click through, go over there, follow my account on YouTube, and like some of the videos and comment. So today is Tuesday, March 25th, which is the 84th day of the year. 84 days have already passed And this is part of a review starting past. And this is part of a review starting with 60. Lesson 84 says these are the ideas for today's review. Okay. The practice, the spiritual practice, which is very important, of course, to regain the correct thought system according to the Course in Miracles. We have taught ourselves and presented ourselves with a thought system which is based on the idea of separation, whose symbols are the body and death. So, death, destruction, division, war, have taught ourselves. It really has nothing to do with God except for the fact that you and I are God in expression. Nothing to do with God except for the fact that you and I are God in expression. We are ideas in the mind of God, according to the Course in Miracles, and God is asleep in us. Our higher selves are asleep in us. And so by engaging Holy Spirit, by allowing the Holy Spirit to undo the thought system by which we operate, by allowing the higher self, the Holy Spirit, the higher mind, God, the universe, the angels, phrase it or describe the indescribable, we are building a new thought system, or remembering the ancient thought system, which is our true sense of being. And so since the universe is mental and God is divine and God is divine mind, we are is to help us remember and recall that divine mind, which is composed of light and love. And so, as it says in the introduction, we are removing the blocks to the love, which is our natural inheritance, which is the foundation and the essence of our creation. Pretty cool, I think. So today we are reviewing two ideas: love created me like itself, and love holds no grievances. So let's start with love created me like itself. So there is a practice with the workbook from the course, and you can read the introduction to the workbook, but the idea is to have two longer practice periods throughout the day, one upon waking up and one have two longer practice periods throughout the day, one upon waking up and one before going to bed, and then perhaps to meditate, think about, and contemplate the ideas for the day, which, from the Western perspective, of course, from the Western point of view, is not something that we generally engage in. So it is the activity and practice of developing a new discipline. As the Course says, our mind is not disciplined, our thinking is not disciplined. And of course, that is a cultural phenomenon. And depending on how deeply you like to get into the discussion, you can say, well, that's just sort of the condition of the world that's arisen with our technology and our media technologies, that we're easily distracted and undisciplined in our thinking. Or if you want to get into the discussion a little bit deeper, you may realize that it's actually been designed that way to prevent us from remembering who and what we are. to prevent us from remembering the truth of our being, because if we remember the truth of our being, then we become independent agents. We are no longer easily controllable and and therefore we are no longer batteries for the matrix, if you will. So love created me like itself. And the Course says, lesson 84, I am in the likeness of my Creator. Okay, created in the image and likeness of my Creator. And if the universe is mental, if the all is mind, then we also are mental. We also are mind. Creation is thought. Thought is creation. So we want to reclaim the truth of our creative thought system, our very being in the mind of God. So it says, I am in the likeness of my Creator with a capital C. Listen to this. I cannot suffer. I cannot experience. Listen to this. I cannot suffer. I cannot experience loss, and I cannot die. So the Course in Miracles is advanced metaphysics. This is an advanced text. These are deeply spiritual ideas, really thoughts and ideas that need to be meditated upon, need to be contemplated, and really need to be absorbed. And as the Course says, there will be resistance to that. There are blocks to that. There is opposition within ourselves. Yes, within ourselves. I am my own opposition. No spiritual bypassing here, right? It's not all unicorns and rainbows. It could be. It was in the beginning. It is now and ever shall be. But in time and space, we have created a situation where we have removed ourselves, or we are dreaming of a situation in which we have removed ourselves from heaven, from those unicorns, butterflies, and rainbows. And we've wandered off into Mordor, so to speak. We've wandered into a far country, so to speak. And so we would like to return to our Father's house. And we can return by contemplating and integrating the idea that love created me like itself, which is one of the practice phrases for today from the workbook. Today, I will worship no idols, nor raise my own self-concept to replace myself. Idols, nor raise my own self-concept to replace myself, capital S. I am in the likeness of my Creator. Love created me like itself. So the likeness of my Creator is me like itself. So the likeness of my Creator is love. The likeness of my Creator is light. Okay? My Creator, God, is not a body. My Creator, God, is not separate from me. Bodies are separate, right? Bodies are individualized as symbols of the idea of separation, as it says in Course. So I am not a body. I am using a body as a device, as a communication device, as a tool, as an instrument, as the temple of the Most High. A biological spacesuit, a bioelectrical magnetic spacesuit to move around in this reality and in this realm. But I am not that body. right? I cannot die. I am eternal. I am created in the image and likeness of my Creator. Okay? I am as love created me. Love created me like itself. Course in Miracles calls that God extending itself. So when God creates, and therefore when we create, since we are created in the image and likeness of God, we extend our thought, and that is creation. We share our thought. The mind is what is unified. The mind is singular. The mind, unified consciousness, is the singularity that the scientists and the physicists and the technocrats are looking for. That is the singularity that they're looking for. And they have forgotten the fact that it is consciousness. They have not really examined that idea deeply, which is what we are engaged in here. A deep conversation, a meticulous conversation, right? Slowing down enough for these ideas to penetrate, right? That thick skull. Let it penetrate your thick skull, Stephen. So I will worship no idols, nor raise my own self-concept to replace myself, capital S. So this is a course. The Course in Miracles is a course in self-realization, self-inquiry, okay, self-examination, which, for the most part, you will find in our Western culture and from our Western perspective and orientation is not something that we are really into culturally, not as much as the East, for instance. The East, a little more self-inquiry, I would say, involved in the East. India, okay, Tibet, Japan, the Russian and Greek Orthodox Church, those Eastern variations of spirituality and religions are a little bit more Buddhism, Taoism, a little bit more into the idea of self-inquiry than Christianity is. Although the esoteric does exist in Christianity, it has just been suppressed. It was basically wiped out by the Roman Catholic Church, if you will. So the esoteric essence of Christianity must be resurrected. The esoteric essence of the teachings of Jesus Christ must be understood. New keys must be applied to the scriptures and the parables and the stories in the Bible, if you will. So you might find these specific forms helpful in applying today's idea. Love created me like myself. So you might also say to yourself, and here are 3 suggestions. Number 1, let me not see an illusion of myself in this situation, in this other person, in this world. Let me not see an illusion of myself. Let me situation in this other person, in this world. Let me not see an illusion of myself. Let me see love. Let me see light. Okay, so I'm going to look past the illusion. This is what Course in Forgiveness in Course in Miracles, and you can find that definition in the Manual for Teachers under the Glossary of Terms. If you do not have a Course in Miracles, if you do not have terms, if you do not have a Course in Miracles, if you do not have the book, back of the book, of course, has that Manual for Teachers and that glossary of terms, you can go to ACIM.org. You can go to ACIM.org online and find the entire text, the workbook, and the Manual for Teachers at acim.org, which is the Foundation for Inner Peace, the publishers of Course in Miracles. That is their website, and it has the entire text. The entire book is online, free for the reading. It also has a search function, which is quite valuable. It works pretty well, too. So go to the glossary of terms and read what it says about forgiveness. Okay, only illusions, according to the Course in Miracles, only illusions can be forgiven. Okay, so we're not forgiving something that's actually happened. If something happens in a dream, it didn't really happen. And the Course asks us to consider the idea that once you wake up in the morning from your sleep, from your overnight sleep and from your overnight dreams, what if you woke up into another dream and didn't realize you were still dreaming, right? So a dream within a dream, as Christopher Nolan has pointed out to us in his movie Inception. So if you are aware of the truth as the Holy Spirit would help us remember and recall, you will see illustrations, examples, and symbols of it in the external world. The external world, of course, reflects our internal world, and so there are external representations of the internal laws and concepts and thoughts and ideas within us. And the movie Inception has a lot of good correspondence, a lot of correspondence to the text, the Course in Miracles, and other metaphysical teachings. And that one right there, Dream Within a Dream, is a theme in movie Inception, and it's also a theme from Course in Miracles. It's theme in movie Inception, and it's also a theme from Course in Miracles. If you wake up in the morning or the afternoon or at night and you have been dreaming, Course says, what if you wake up from that dream and you're still within a dream and you just don't realize it, which is the opening sequence of the movie Inception. So the second idea to practice for the day is love holds no grievances. Okay, so love created me like itself, and guess what? Love holds no grievances. So that is the essence of forgiveness, right? Love, that is the essence of forgiveness, right? Love does not hold resentments. Love has no resentments. So, right, I'm going to ask God to remove my defects. God to remove my defects of character. Love holds no love and keep its light obscure. So, as we discussed earlier, lesson 68, this is a repeat of lesson 68. Grievances are not only the opposite of love, they are actually an attack on love and an attack on God's plan for salvation. So grievances not only oppose God's plan for salvation, they are an actual attack on God's plan for salvation. Grievances, resentments, frustrations, irritations, right? These are all attacks on our own salvation. They are attacks on ourselves. Grievances are completely alien to love. Grievances attack love and keep its light obscure. If I hold grievances, I am attacking love and therefore attacking myself, capital S, who I am. So remember, the ego, because of the shadow, right? This is a Jungian concept, a concept of psychology and psychological practice and teachings, right? The shadow, because of those unwanted and traumatic parts of ourselves that we have suppressed or rejected, that we are ignoring, that we will not admit to, become the shadow. And then the shadow is projected outside of ourselves. So the Course also talks about that. So there is a self. So the Course also talks about that. So there is a Jungian correspondence to the Course in Miracles. So we mirroring it back, that irritation and that frustration that is outside of us, mirror it back and realize, oh, that frustration, that irritation, that condemnation, oh, that frustration, that irritation, that condemnation is not outside of me, it's with. I'm mad and frustrated with myself, with an illusion of myself. And of course, as you get into it, the anger and the frustration and the irritation, that is the problem. The problem is I am upset because I see something that isn't there. I see only the past. Okay, so now we're touching on the power of now, Eckhart Tolle's teachings. The real reason I become frustrated because of my projections, the real reason I become irritated is because I'm rejecting the truth of my own being. I'm attacking the truth of my own being. I'm believing in an illusion of myself. I've made something up about myself and I don't want to deal with it, so I project it. And then I something up about myself and I don't want to deal with it, so I project it. And then I bring it back, mirror it back, and then process it, deal with it, work with it, forgive it. That's what the Course is asking us to do. Advanced metaphysics, again, has to be thought about, has to be constantly engaged with over and over and over. We want to remind ourselves. Course is constantly saying we're going to remind ourselves of this today. So grievances are completely alien to love. Grievances attack love and keep its light obscure. If I hold grievances, I'm attacking love and therefore attacking myself, capital S. Myself, capital S, attacking love and therefore attacking myself, capital S. Myself, capital S, thus becomes alien to me. I am determined not to attack myself today so that I can remember who I am. These forms for applying this idea would be helpful. And I want to be truly helpful. I want to be helpful to everyone and everything. And I want to be helpful to myself. I want to forgive myself. I want to give up, turn over, let go, and let God all my false ideas about myself. And if love created me like itself, and if I am light and love, then I'm going to give up, and I want to give up any ideas and be truly helpful to myself by giving up the ideas that contradict or confuse the idea of light and love, which I am. So the Course here says 3 suggestions, 3 other ways to think about this. There is no justification for denying myself, capital S. I will not use this to attack love, and let this not tempt me to attack myself. This situation, this person, these people on television, these people on my screens, these people in the news, let this not tempt me to attack myself. Love holds no grievances. And love created me like itself. So therefore, I hold no grievances. Okay. And this is the practice. This is the challenge. This is the discipline the Course in Miracles is asking us to engage with. Why? So that we can remember who we are and have a dominion over our own life and situations. So that we can create and participate in the immaculate concept of our life. Perfect, whole, and complete. Do what I want, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it with. Okay. Basically, have dominion over myself, self mastery. If I become master over myself, it will naturally translate itself. It will naturally appear outside of me as mastery over all my states, mental and emotional, physical, all my states and conditions will then be. These are the things these are the ideas and practices and goals, right, that will heal the world, that will change the world. Change myself within, heal myself within. The picture outside of me will change. The picture outside of me, the external world, will heal itself, but it begins in here. Okay, so that is Course in Miracles. That is esoteric Christianity. That is the highest, those are the highest teachings, right? Self mastery, self healing, physician, heal thyself. So that was lesson 84 from the Course in Miracles, and the corresponding text for the day is from chapter 11. Chapter 11 is called God or the Ego, and the ego also, like forgiveness, like the atonement, like the Christ mind, like the name or the word Jesus. All these words, concepts are defined specifically in the Course in Miracles. They are used in a specific way as part of a complete thought system. And they can't, all those definitions, all those ideas, besides being part of the text and part of the workbook, can be found in the manual for teachers in the back of the book under the glossary of terms. So, God or the ego. They are opposites. They are mutually exclusive. They don't and they can't really interact. According to the Course in Miracles, each of those entities, and the ego is not real, also doesn't really exist. It is a hallucination. It is part of the dream, according to the Course. So it says God or the ego, but it's really only God, everywhere, omnipresent, all the time, eternal. And the section today from chapter 11 is section 1, called the Gifts of Fatherhood. The gifts of the source, you could say. The gifts of the center from the source. The gifts of fatherhood. The gifts of the Father. The gifts of the seed thought. The central atom. The spark of life and light. All of those things have a correspondence, have the same vibration in this thought system. And it says, chapter 11, section 1, triple ones there. You have learned your need of healing. So we've read 83 sections. We're on chapter 11 in this book, and it is stating you have learned of your need of healing. So that is an admission. That is a necessity to be, that is the indication of a necessity to be honest with ourselves about our spiritual condition. Okay. We're in a spiritual condition because we are on this planet, or this in this dream, however you want to identify it or describe it. We're in this realm where we see death, destruction, division, wars, natural disasters, all these things, starvation, illness, sickness, and death. And the Course asks us to admit, the Course asks us to be honest with ourselves and say, do you think God would have created this? And the answer is no, I don't think so. The answer of the Course is you shouldn't think so. You should admit that, well, you're having some sort of a dream, because it calls it a dream or an illusion because it's not reality. Because it calls it a dream or an illusion because it's not reality. God would not have created it. And so we need some sort of thought, some sort of idea to explain it, some sort of world view that will explain it. And the Course calls that the ego. The ego will explain it. And the Course calls that the ego mind, the idea of separation from unity, from God, from oneness. You have learned of your need of healing. Would you bring anything else to the sonship, recognizing your need of healing for yourself? For in this lies the beginning of the return to knowledge, the admission that this world and myself as part of this world would really disagree with that at the core and center of their being. Of course, many people would disagree with it as they scroll through and land on this live and hear a few words and decide to, jump in and oppose that thought. But at the core, at the center, in our hearts, would we really disagree with that statement? Would I really, really disagree with that statement? Would I really disagree with that statement? Would you bring anything else to the sonship, recognizing your need of healing for yourself? For in this lies the beginning of the return to knowledge, the foundation on which God will help build again the thought system you share with Him. Okay, so the need for healing is the universal need of everyone on this planet. Everyone that's been on this planet, everyone that's on this planet now, everyone that will be on this planet. There is a universal need for healing, which the Course calls the atonement and says, if we focus on that, then our thought begins to. If we focus on that, then our thought begins to become unified. Everybody's headed in the same direction. Everybody's working on the same project, enterprise, the same goal, right? A healed mind, a healed consciousness. Not one stone, so the foundation on which God will help build again the thought system, you consciousness. Not one stone, so the foundation on which God will help build again the thought system you share with Him. Not one stone you place upon it, but will be blessed by and where His Son. You restore this reality, you restore it to yourself. So the part of the mind of God's Son are other people, right? Other bodies, seemingly separate consciousness, not really, not at the foundational level, but in effect, so to speak. You dwell in the mind of God with your brother, for God Him alone. To be alone is to be separated from infinity, but how can this be if infinity has no end? No one can be infinity has no end. No one can be beyond the limitless, because what has no limits must be everywhere. There are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is himself. So the universe as the body of God, but the universe also as the thought of God. So really, matter not being the opposite of spirit. Sorry, Rene Descartes. We're going to have to give up that thought. There is no separation between spirit, mind, and body. It's all a continuum, according to the Course in Miracles. However you want to explain that to yourself or think about that. Spirit, mind, body. So matter is just the opposite end of that thought. Spirit to thought to matter. There are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is himself. Can you exclude yourself from the universe or from God, who is the universe? I and my Father are one with you, for you are a part of us. Do you really believe that part of God can be missing or lost to him? If you were not a part of God, his will would not be unified. Is this conceivable? Can part of his mind contain nothing? If your place in his mind cannot be filled by anyone except you, and your filling of it was your creation, without you, there would be an empty place in God's mind. Extension cannot be blocked, and it has no voids. It continues forever, however much it is denied. Your denial of its reality may arrest it in time, but not in eternity. So it may be arrested, blocked, or delayed in time, but time is an illusion. Time and space are created by the mind and do not exist in reality. Therefore, the introduction, which we read to begin this session, says nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Time and space is an illusion. Unreal exists. Time and space is an illusion, is part of the dream to be extended, and why so much is waiting for your return, right? Creation is already complete. You may have heard that idea before on TikTok from Neville Goddard, from other spiritual teachers, teachings, and texts. Creation is already complete. Time and space are, as Joel Goldsmith said and entitled one of his books, a parenthesis in eternity. Time and space are, said and entitled one of his books, a parenthesis in eternity. Time and space are a parenthesis in eternity. Or you can illustrate it with a circle, like a cookie cutter. Take a circle out of the dough and make that time and space as a metaphor. So then you spend some time in that circle until the circle's dissolved. Then you're back into the eternal. Time and space. It's just an artificial constriction within eternity in order to have a different experience, to learn, so to speak. Thus, a course, a curriculum, in behind simply by recognizing that neither beginnings nor endings were created by the Eternal, who placed no limits on its creation or upon those who created like him. You do not know this simply because you have tried to limit what he created, who created like him. You do not know this simply because you have tried to limit what he created, and so you believe that all creation is limited. How then could you know your creation is limited? How then could you know your creations, having denied infinity? So, explaining the paradox, explaining the idea of separation and what it causes us to believe, following from that singular idea of separation. So the Course says the Son of God, the idea of separation passed through his mind, through his consciousness. And so you can start laughing now because you are in it. You are neck deep in it. Continuing, the laws of the universe do not permit contradiction. What holds for God holds for you. If you believe you are absent from God, you will believe that he is absent from you. Infinity is meaningless without you, and you are meaningless without God. There is no end to God and his Son, for we are the universe. God is not incomplete, and he is not childless. Because he did not will to be alone, he created a son like himself. Right? So if that consciousness is unified, why creation? People will sometimes act. Why? Right? So if that consciousness is unified, why creation? People will sometimes act. Why did God create the multiplicity, all this diversity, all these differences? Well, it says there, God did not will to be alone. So in a unified consciousness, you have to think of it as it being singular. And then if you're singular, if you're the only thing in the universe, then perhaps you may consider yourself as being alone. So by dividing itself and multiplying itself, right, God has created a universal companion, a son, as the Course calls it. In all its diversity, the universe is God's son. Everything is God's son, God's creation, or his consort, or all these different images and all these different symbols and metaphors for creation and what consciousness did as creation. So it's a bit of a paradox. It's tough for the ego mind, cannot conceive of it. So it's kind of tough, and you have to start to cultivate that higher mind, that higher consciousness, which is enlightenment, which is healing, according to the Course in Miracles, which is mastery of the self, which is the return of knowledge, light, love. The universe of love does not stop because you do not see it, nor have your closed eyes lost the ability to see. Look upon the glory of his creation, and you will learn what God has kept for you. God has given you a place in his mind that is yours forever. God has given you a place in his mind that is yours forever. You can keep it only by giving it as it was given you, the extension of reality. Could you be alone when it was given you because God did not will to be alone? God's mind cannot be lessened. It can only be increased, for everything he creates has the function of creating. Love limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy that is his and that he wills to share with you. Your love is as boundless as his because it is his. I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs. Again, you can go to acim.org to read chapter 11, section 1, the gifts of the fatherhood. So it's describing here what the gifts of the Creator, what the gifts of God are to us, which is himself. That is the gift. We are extensions of the Creator of the universe. Okay? So meditate on that one, contemplate that one the next time you're feeling sorry for yourself. Okay, so transfer out of that neighborhood of the ego mind that feels sorry for itself, and move up to the east side and consider extension of God. That the gifts of the fatherhood, the gifts of the Creator, are to give of itself to you. That is your creation. And you continue that creation. You extend it. That's how you know who you are, by extending what you are as God did. Know who you are by extending what you are as God did. In the original creation, the projection of the ego, which is not extension, projection, makes it appear as if God's will is outside yourself and therefore not yours. In this interpretation, it seems possible for God's will and yours to conflict. God then may seem to demand of you what you do not want to give, and thus deprive you of what you want. Right? Why won't God answer my prayers? Because we're thinking of it from the wrong place, from the wrong spot. We are not aligned. We are not in alignment, as Abraham Hicks says, as Esther Hicks says. We're not in alignment. We have not accepted the end, as Neville Goddard says. Without God, who wants only your will, would God, who wants only your will, be capable of this, of withholding? Your will is this, of withholding. Your will is his life, which he has given to you. Even in time, you cannot live apart from him. Sleep is not death. Sleep, but cannot die. Immortality is his will for his son, and his son's will for himself. God's son cannot will death for himself, because his father is life, and his son is like him. Creation is. You are asked to trust the Holy Spirit only because she speaks for you. She is the Holy Spirit only because she speaks for you. She is the voice for God. But never forget that God did not will to be alone. He shares his will with you. He does not thrust it upon you. Right? So my will and God's will are one. So the things that I desire from the Father, that is in Joseph Brenner's Impersonal Life, right? It says all desires come from God. The desire, right? It says all desires come from God. The desire for the things, for the external things outside of ourselves, are really mistranslated desires for, or limited desires for, self-knowledge, for the knowledge of the truth, for the knowledge of our oneness with God. Okay. We limit that idea, we constrict that idea, and think things will make us happy, when there's only one thing that will make us happy, which is recognition of our unity with our Creator. The recognition of the truth, the recognition of ourself, capital S. God shares his will with you. He does not thrust it upon you. Always remember that what he gives, he keeps, so that nothing he gives can contradict him. You who share his life must share it to know it, for sharing is knowing. Okay, big statement, right? Other is to know your own. My will and God's will are one, for it is your will to be like him, whose will it is that it be so. God's will is that his son be one and united with him. In his oneness. That is why healing is the beginning of the recognition that his oneness. That is why healing is the beginning of the recognition that your will is his. So, chapter 11, God or the ego. The answer is God, only God, because God has given himself as us. We have life because of the life of God, and God has simply extended himself to us, as us, with us, through us. So that is the live for today. That is the broadcast, the download, the session, the show for today. So thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for showing up early. Generally, I do this at 11 a.m. Central Time every day, 7 days a week. If you miss the live at 11 a.m., we're a little bit early today because I'm going to be occupied at 11 a.m. Central Time today. And so I did this a little bit earlier today. But if you missed this or missed any other session, you can go to my YouTube channel, also at Steve OCs. There's a link in the bio. All these OCs. There's a link in the bio. All these shows, these sessions, these discussions are uploaded from all there. So there's about 65 plus hours of discussion about the Course in Miracles, review of the Course in Miracles. So go over there, check it out. A lot of good information there, a lot of good ideas. See what comes up, click through. You don't have to watch all 65 hours. Spin the wheel, click in, see what the Holy Spirit has for you, see what you hear, see what you think. And thank you for your likes today. And you can like these lives and also, of course, follow this account for spiritual discussions, metaphysical truth, principles, esoteric subjects, all of those good things, the truth as it appears in the world even. So we can talk about that. We can talk about the truth of history. We can talk about the truth of politics and what's going on in Washington, D.C. We could talk about that, which often means talking about conspiracy theories, I guess. Right? So all of that stuff is important too. Many times, and it was my own experience as you begin your spiritual journey. And since generally outside of ourselves, before we begin the spiritual journey and begin to turn that around and focus within, of course, some of the first exposure to the truth becomes realizing that what we've been told about things is not true. We've been lied to. And so, as part of the spiritual discussion here, there's also a discussion about those external falsehoods and those external lies and how we can begin to see the truth outside of ourselves, which leads to seeing the truth within ourselves. So we also talk about those things. Check out some of the content that's on this account and find me on all the other social platforms at Stevo. C's, peace and blessings. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you soon. Love you. Have a great day and shine your light. Go out and shine your light today. Peace.